NewstalkZB, Canterbury Mornings with Chris Lynch. We're live and local, and if news breaks, you'll hear it here first on NewstalkZB. Joining me live in the studio this morning is Labour's housing spokesman Phil Twyford, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Chris.
Thanks for your time this morning. Let's start with the housing issues that continue to plague our city. Are they getting any better in your mind?
Well, progress has been, as your listeners will know, incredibly slow. The numbers are not flash. And you can see that, I suppose, most graphically with the fact that fewer than 1,000 of the 12 to 15,000 houses that are needed have actually been built. Only 25% of the state house rebuilds have been built. The 700 new state house builds that the minister promised a year ago, only 29 have been built. Now, that's why rents are up by more than 40%. That's why house prices are up by 25%. And it's clearly holding back the recovery.
I recall Dr. Nick Smith saying recently, though, he's pretty confident that housing stock levels will be back to Christchurch pre-earthquake after 2016. Is there any truth in that? Is that possible, though?
I cannot understand why he would make that statement publicly. That is completely unachievable. The minister's full of confidence. He's constantly announcing projections and numbers of consents, but no number of photo opportunities can hide the fact that the residential rebuild has been painfully slow, and it has allowed a prolonged and severe housing shortage to continue for 3.5 years. And the minister recently said that it would be reasonable, in his words, if rents took another 5 years to stabilise. Now, I just don't think that that's acceptable for Cantabrians to put up with this for 8.5 years.
No, we can't. So what is Labour trying? What will you do then? You're announcing some new policies in Christchurch this morning. So what can Labour possibly do that National, in your view, can't?
So the first and most important thing, Chris, is that we are going to roll up our sleeves and actually build 10,000 houses, affordable homes, with urgency. And I think people understand that the only real sustainable solution to this housing shortage is to build more houses and fill that shortage. That's what will stabilise rents and bring prices down.
Phil, it sounds well intended, but how are you going to achieve that? Because of the current government is failing to build homes to its targets. How is Labour planning on building 10,000 affordable homes over 4 years?
So the difference in approach is this. The government's idea is that you tweak the market incentives and basically hope that a broken market will fix itself and magically build all these houses. Labor, on the other hand, is going to roll up its sleeves and actually build them. We're going to finance the construction. We're going to bulk purchase the building supplies. We're going to use Crown land, council land. Where necessary, we'll buy land. We're actually going to build the houses.
With what tradesmen, with what builders? If we've got a building shortage here, how realistic is it though, Phil?
Well, there are labour constraints, and that's because the government sat on its hands for 2 years after the quake, put a cap on the polytechs and industry training, and failed to actually train up people for the rebuild. We are not going to let that stand in the way of building these houses with urgency. If we have to bring in skilled tradespeople from overseas, we'll do it. We won't let that stand in the way. But our priority will be to urgently train up tradespeople and massively expand apprenticeships to get the industry up to speed.
You're also announcing today that you want to build 100 temporary homes immediately to boost the stock of temporary emergency housing in the first 3 months, and an additional 300 in the first 6 months. Once again, I say it's well intended, but how will you build temporary homes? And what exactly is a temporary home?
So one of the heartbreaking consequences of this prolonged housing shortage has been that too many Cantabrians have been allowed to fall between the cracks. And I know that your show is regularly covered and reported, people paying hundreds of dollars to live in a sleep out in caravans. There are people, in fact, by the government's own numbers, more than 7,000 people in Canterbury living in insecure housing. So we recognise that, and we think not enough has been done to address that need. And in the first 3 months in government, we are going to deliver 100 temporary emergency houses for people who are really in strife and need a decent roof over their heads.
But
we're going to use high quality modular housing. Some people will have seen recently the developer Ian Castle's showcasing new modular factory built 2-bedroom dwellings, high quality dwellings that could be shipped onto site, much in the same way that the current government has set up the temporary villages. Those houses will be available for short-term tenancies for people who are in housing strife to get themselves sorted out, get a roof over their heads, while we help them into more longer-term housing.
Will that be available for those who have had their insurance payouts and they're getting their homes rebuilt and there's no rental accommodation for them left? Will it be open for them?
It'll be the houses will be available on the basis of the highest need, and Housing New Zealand will use the criteria that they normally use to do that. And Chris, we're going to follow that up in the first 6 months with 300 more Kiwi-built houses.
You see, the trouble I'm having with this right now, Phil Twyford, is the fact this sounds great, it sounds well-intended, but once again, this is focusing on one certain sector of society. What will Labour do to help those on the middle income bracket that are hard-working Kiwis that have paid their taxes all their lives, like my parents, for example? They're in a situation where they've been through the Southern Response, they will get a rebuild. They are a bit worried at the fact that they may not be able to find affordable, decent accommodation when they're waiting for their house to be rebuilt, but essentially what you're saying is they won't be classed as high need because there are poorer people out there. Do you see what I'm saying? It doesn't seem to affect those who have actually worked really hard all their lives, like my parents have.
Yeah, no, Chris, that's
Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but that's not at all what we're proposing. So what I'm saying is that in the first few months, right, we are going to prioritise the first 400 houses off the production line to deal with that acute need of people who have really fallen between the cracks. But our policy is to build 10,000 affordable homes in the first 4 years in Canterbury. Now that will bring down prices and rents, and it will ease the shortage, and it will mean that people like your parents will have a much better chance of getting the housing they need at a price they can afford.
So what then, in your view, is affordable? Because that's the key question here, isn't it?
Yeah, we've looked at this, and we believe that the Kiwi-built houses that we can build for a standalone 3-bedroom house, that we would be building them in the $350,000 to $400,000 range. Now, the median house price in Christchurch is $435,000. So that's significantly below the median. In cases where we're going to be building medium density, flats, apartments and terraces, then you'd be looking at even lower than that, in the $300,000 to $350,000 range. Now that's not going to solve everyone's housing problems. There are many people in the city who won't be able to afford a house at that price. But the effect of building 10,000 affordable homes in this range in short order will go a long way to fixing the shortage and the housing crisis.
You see, you keep saying the 10,000 affordable homes, 10,000, 10,000. It's a nice figure, it really is. But how are you going to build them if you don't have the tradespeople or builders in the first place? Are you going to have to look to the Philippines? Are you going to seriously have to look outside? Only got 30 seconds left, but where are we going to find the magic builders?
Chris, we're going to do whatever it takes to fix this problem. If we have to bring in overseas tradespeople, we will. We won't let Cantabrians face another 5 years of this housing crisis, as the current minister seems to think is okay.
30 seconds left. You also want to increase the accommodation supplement for Christchurch residents by $50 a week until the housing crisis is fixed. Once again, this is only focusing on those. This doesn't help my parents.
Well, this will benefit about 15,000 people in Canterbury, we think. Currently, Cantabrians are not getting the same level of support through the accommodation supplement, say, that Aucklanders are. That's unfair, it's an anomaly, and we're going to fix it.
Yes, well, that is true. We're paying the same prices of those in Auckland. Labour's housing spokesman, Phil Twyford, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming into the studio.
Thanks, Chris. Good to see you.
It is NewstalkZB.